Cut. Justin, what are you doing, my man? You said you wanted a slow motion action running shot, I suppose. We did say that, yes, but we're going to take care of that in post, so you don't have to worry about that, okay? I just thought I would save the studio some money and do it. I got it. I appreciate that. Yeah, actually, it's fine. Don't worry about that. Quick question, though. Why are you so out of breath? I haven't had to run that long for a while. Okay, we know we're going to do this like 20 more times, right? Okay. Cut. Okay, back to one. Let's start, everybody. And roll it. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Best Theme Song Ever. I am Justin, the Millennial Mixtape, and if you hadn't already guessed, this week we're taking a dive into Baywatch, aka everyone's show that they just watch for the articles. Okay, so if this is your first time tuning into Best Theme Song Ever, let me tell you how it works. Every week, or whenever I have time, I look at a different TV show and its theme song. I analyze the show based on its plot or premise, and then review the show on 4 criteria to see if it has the best theme song ever. Those 4 criteria are earworm ability of the song, or the song's ability to be an earworm, title sequence, intentionality of lyrics, how well do the lyrics match up with what the show is about, and timeliness of the song, based on when that show came out. How does the song stack up to other songs that came out that year? If you want more information on how I grade and review these theme songs, take a look at the first link below the like button. And with that, let's go ahead and get started with the plot of Baywatch. Okay, and so here is the plot of Baywatch. This is an American drama about lifeguards who patrol the beaches of Los Angeles County, California, and later Hawaii. The show stars David Hasselhoff, but quick fact, Tom Selleck was approached for the role of Mitch, but turned it down because he did not want to be a sex symbol. Got some bad news for you there, Tom. Too late. Now, the show ran 11 seasons, but here's a little bit of trivia for you. It was canceled after the first season at NBC, but later through syndication, it became the most watched television show in the world, with an estimated weekly audience of 1.1 billion viewers, despite consistently negative critical reviews. This was actually the longest running show without an Emmy prior to Supernatural. So this show was just a powerhouse. It was everywhere in the 90s. Of course, it was parodied. I don't know anything about parodying the show, obviously. But yeah, it could not avoid Baywatch. It was a powerhouse. And later, when they wanted to move the show to Australia, Australians actually protested the show being moved there, and so they decided on Hawaii as a secondary location, and that's where the show continued for 2 additional seasons in 1997 and 1998. Okay, so now that we know the plot of Baywatch, there is a plot. I don't know, I thought the show ended after the intro. Now that we know the plot of Baywatch, we're going to take a look at those 4 criteria. So coming up first, we have earworm ability. Okay, so let's talk earworm ability. Now, typically when I do these episodes, I will throw in the history of the theme song as kind of a separate agenda item. No, I'm just going to go ahead and throw that in here with earworm ability, because Baywatch, I wasn't aware of this prior to doing my research for it. Baywatch has a rich tapestry of there's almost as many theme songs to Baywatch as there has been for WandaVision, which, by the way, if you're not watching WandaVision, please go do that now. It's amazing. But there are essentially 3 theme songs for Baywatch. So when the show first premiered in 1989 on NBC, the original theme song was Save Me, performed by Peter Cetera with Bonnie Raitt on guitar. And you know Peter Cetera, you might not know the name, but you definitely know this song right here. Tonight it's very clear. Okay, then when the show was picked up for syndication afterward, and we have seasons 2 through 10, the theme song was replaced with I'm Always Here by Jimmy Jamison. And now that is arguably the one that we all know and love for Baywatch. But there's a 3rd song. When the first season was moved to DVD, they replaced Save Me by Peter Cetera with a song called Above the Waterline by Kim Carnes.
Good. another day in the neighborhood. For every guy, there's a girl. But it's a Monday and a Saturday world.
So we have 3 theme songs. Now for Earworm Ability, I am just going to focus on the one that we all know and appreciate. And I have to say, it is an earworm, most definitely. So when I decided this was the next episode I was going to do, I came home and I started singing a few lines from it. And my wife immediately picked up on what show I was talking about, what the song was, and she started singing the next few lines. And it's all we've been singing for the past week as I did my research and got ready for this episode. So is it a perfect theme song? No. Is it an earworm? Absolutely. Is it as much of an earworm as Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? Again, no, but it is very good. So for Earworm Ability, I'm going to give I'm Always Here by Jimmy Jamison and not the other ones a solid 4 out of 5. All right, so the next criteria we're going to be talking about is title sequence. Now, of course, title sequence is where I take a look at what is presented, what the visual imagery is for the show, and I analyze that based on what the plot of the show is. And again, we get a really strong sense of what the show's about. There are people, they are lifeguards, they're in bikinis and bathing suits, not much clothing. I mean, it's all there, everything you need. This for, middle schoolers in the early 90s, this was Playboy come to life. I mean, you just had to catch it at 3 p.m. on USA after Major Dad, and boom, you're there, all right? So that's why I made the crack at the beginning. This is, the show that we watch for the articles. Now, you do get a very good sense of what the show is about. As I said, the show's about lifeguards on a beach. There's not really much else to it. There are some heroics that are seen. You see an explosion here. You see helicopters coming in, swooping people out of the ocean there. So, you get a sense that there is this heroicism and that it's very dramatic and all that. And I think it does a good job selling the show. The things that it wants you to focus on, you focus on. You see those in the beginning. So because of that, the title sequence is pitch perfect. No complaints here. I'm going to give title sequence a 5 out of 5. We'll see what my wife says about that once she's watched this episode. Okay, and now we have our next criteria, which is intentionality of lyrics. So let's see how well these lyrics fit the theme, the tone of Baywatch. So as I mentioned, the song is I'm Always Here, which was written and recorded by Jimmy Jamison, the original singer for Survivor. It was also co-written by Joe Henry. But with these two guys, the song, as far as we can tell, was written for the context of the show. I Won't Let You Out of My Sight. As far as we can tell, this song was written for the show. Of course, Jimmy Jamison died a few years ago, but Joe Henry is on record of saying with the line, I won't let you out of my sight. That's appropriate for a TV series about lifeguards, but the song itself is more likely a commitment to a girl, which sounds kind of stalkery if you ask me, but most of the great love songs are about being a stalker. If you look at The Police and things like that. So intentionality, it kind of really does lend itself well to the idea of lifeguards, right? I'll be ready, never you fear. I'll be ready forever and always. I'm always here. Some people stand in the darkness, afraid to step into the light. So I feel like it is a very strong contender for being about lifeguards and the show Baywatch itself, but we don't have the definitiveness of knowing that it was written for the show. Again, fortunately, Jimmy Jamison died, I think in 2014. So we're going to say that it is a good fit. It is a strong fit. And for that, I'm going to go with a 3.5 out of 5, just because we can't definitively say that, yes, this was written for the show. All right, and now we will dive into our final criteria, which is timeliness of the song. So with timeliness, we're analyzing how well does I'm Always Here fit into kind of the time frame of what was on the radio at the time, right? The soundscape of what we hear on the radio. Now, the show, Baywatch, originally premiered on April 23rd, 1989. And if we look at the Billboard Hot 100 at that time, the number one song in the United States was Like a Prayer by Madonna, which you can hear a little bit of here. Now, Madonna being kind of the Lady Gaga of her time, right? I'm sorry that I made that kind of correlation there, but Madonna didn't really sound like what else was on the radio either, especially as we got into her early 90s career when she got into the Vogue territory. It really started to sound different. So I don't know that Madonna's even a good representation of what was on the radio because she was so different. But if we look at the week before Madonna, it was She Drives Me Crazy by Fine Young Cannibals, which is very much a late 80s. You got that synth drum track in the background, a little bit of aggressive distorted guitar. So based on that information, again, Madonna being kind of an outlier, if we look at Fine Young Cannibals and She Drives Me Crazy, I feel like I'm Always Here perfectly blends into the soundscape of what was on, right? So we have Bon Jovi coming up in a few weeks if we look at the Hot 100. And not only that, we have Bon Jovi coming up in a few weeks. We're about to get into kind of hair metal, right? We're going to have a little bit more of Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and those guys kind of showing up. So I feel like this really fits with the time, right? This is kind of something that works with what we hear on the radio. So because of that, not a perfect score. It is still kind of dated, it's not timeless. It doesn't really, we couldn't really listen to it now and be like, oh yeah, this bops or whatever the kids say. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. I feel like I'm wrong there, but on my gut, that's just kind of where I'm sitting on it. So 3.5 out of 5 for Timeliness. Now that brings us to our final score. All of our criteria are met here. So we have a 4, a 5, a 3.5, and a 3.5. Add all of that up, average it out, it gives us an 80C. So really, not that bad. At least better than I thought it would be. And again, this is just for the Jimmy Jamison I'm Always Here. There are 2 other theme songs that we could potentially analyze for this, but I'm not going to force you to listen to that. I'm also not going to force myself to listen to those songs anymore. This is the superior song. So if you want Baywatch, definitively Jimmy Jamison, 80C, best theme song ever. That's it. All right, so how did I do with Baywatch? Did I hit the mark or jump the shark? Is it a Monday in a Saturday world? I don't know. Let me know in the comments how I did. Also, while you're down there, tell me what show I should do next. I have a lot that are on the docket. Shows I've already filmed that I just haven't had a chance to complete. And yeah, there's a bunch of shows that I'm trying to get to, just some ones that are coming up. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dexter's Laboratory, Scrubs. There's a whole bunch that are on the way. I just have to find time to do it. But I want to thank you again for taking the time to watch. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It does help the channel out quite a bit. And with that, I'm going to continue not to hassle the Hoff. That was a thing, I think, a few years ago. Anyway, that's it for me. Again, I'm Justin, the Millennial Mixtape. Catch you guys in the next one. And until I see you, stay safe, stay well.